So I just did my oil change on this thing. It's my 2,000 mile oil change. I did one at 500 and I just did another one at 2135, I think is what I had on it. This is the best way I've found. Just put my jack up under there, slightly tilt, and then I can get to the chain really easily. And then when I'm done, there it goes. And I've thought about trying to find, I've considered getting a center stand for this thing, to where if I'm on the side of the road and I need to change a tire, the center stand would allow me to lift up the back. And I think you could lift up the front maybe too, I'm not sure. But what I'm finding is if you have the kickstand down, what I'm wondering is instead of having a center stand, I wonder if you can use just a support thing somewhere over here. So like you could either use like this bolt and have something that attaches, or maybe to here, or something that you could put here and have like a jack screw where you could pick it up just enough to get the stuff off, utilizing the kickstand on the other side. Maybe make something out of aluminum that would be really lightweight that I could throw in my box and have for that purpose. I don't know. Something I'm kicking around maybe, but I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that out. This is my box that I got on Facebook from a really nice lady on Facebook. It locks onto here. It's got a thing for somebody's back to rest here. I'm going to test it out here shortly. And what I might have to do is push this back. So I may have to make a new bracket like this one, but make it where it comes back a little bit. But this is my second decent motorcycle that I've had. I also put these brackets on here. You can see them here. My dad has a Givy windshield or windscreen, and it is that much taller than mine. It comes up like this, and then it kind of swoops back like that. And he really likes his windscreen. I prefer the smaller windscreens if I can use them. And I don't like looking through the windscreen. I want something that I can look over top of. With his, it's pretty tall. But behind his, you really don't get any wind in your helmet. So with this one though, this is the next size up from the factory windscreen. So this is your touring windscreen, I think, and then his is another size up from there. But what these brackets allowed me to do, because I bought this windscreen, I wanted to try it, and you still get buffeting around your helmet. You know, it still kind of hits you. Nowhere near as bad as the original one, but still you get a little bit. But once I put this bracket on there and adjusted it up by that far, it gives me, essentially, I can't tell the difference between this one and my dad's Givy windshield. It is just as good. It does space it out, so you've got more room here. I don't know how that's going to affect anything. I'd imagine rain might, I don't know, hit that, and I don't know. We'll see how it does in rain. But as far as just wind, it does great. And this windshield is way thicker than the Givy windshield. The Givy is half that thickness. So, I like this one. It also has these wind deflectors here, and I don't think the factory one had those. Added my lights down here. Oh, and I added these. These are aftermarket brake levers. My dad broke his brake lever over there, and so it had snapped off, you know, somewhere in here. And the factory or OEM brake lever at the dealership that I went to, they wanted like $97 for it or something. So I got on Amazon and I found these for him, ordered him some while I was down there, and I really liked them. I like these better. So your adjustment is this little lever right here, and it works really well. I'm pretty impressed with these. They're a little loose here, but you don't really tell at all. And these will also fold up, so if you drop it like I did, these will fold out of the way. And you've also got an adjustment here to make these longer or shorter, so you can see they're a little bit short compared to the original ones, but I really like them. And they're black. The originals were that color. To me, this just looks better. It matches the rest of the thing. So I'm pretty tickled with those. But yeah, I love this thing. It's been a fantastic machine so far. One caveat, I guess, the temperature gets up to like 220 when you're stopped at a stoplight for a long time. To me, that's dumb. I'm either going to add an override switch or a temperature sending unit that will activate the fan relay at 180, or I'm not 180, at 190. It don't activate until like 215 or something. So I would rather it activate a little bit lower. I think the engine would last a little bit longer. The rings wouldn't be exposed to quite as much temperature if you did that. So I'm going to change that. Now you can send your ECU off for reprogramming. So I might send it off, and they can actually change your change that, and they change your fuel map and all that stuff too. I don't really care as much about that. It's got all the power that I could have asked for. I'm happy with it. But the stupid coolant thing, I don't know. That just seems too hot to me. So my plan, and if anybody can speak up or whatever and let me know what you think, this thing, I've used conventional oil. So for the first 500 miles, it was the break-in oil, I guess. From a 500 to 21 something, it was conventional oil, the Honda GNC4 or whatever it is. And then from there to 4,000, I'm going to run conventional oil. And at 4,000, I'm going to switch to synthetic and go every 5,000 to 6,000 miles and change the oil then. Everything I've read, and according to AI, which, you know, it can be wrong, but everything I've seen, the conventional oil has better lubricity in the cold. It starts up and gets in where it needs to go faster, so you've got better cold starts. The viscosity stays pretty consistent for a lot longer, and on longer trips, the heat soak into the oil doesn't really break it down as much. I tend to ride my motorcycle a lot, and I tend to go long distances. Like today, I went, an hour and a half away, an hour and a half back, an hour back somewhere else, and then an hour back home. So I want something that will make it last as long as possible. I like my motorcycle, and I want to keep it around for a while. So this is my Transalp, my second motorcycle. See, I dropped it right there. Look at that. In there. Ain't that horrible? Brand new motorcycle. My second one, I want to be I'm thinking a Versus 300. I think it's a Kawasaki Versus 300. That's what I'm looking at as a spare. The reason being, my kids want to learn how to ride a motorcycle, and this one's too high and too big. The Versus is 100 pounds lighter, I think. It is like 4 inches shorter seat height, so it's way lower seat height. And what else? It's going to be a little bit less, I don't know. Everything I've seen, everybody says that it's a very versatile motorcycle. It's a V-twin. As far as adventure bikes, the small adventure bikes, the only two that I know of that are that way are the Versus 300 and the CB500X from Honda. But I can buy 2 of those Versus 300s used for what I can buy 1 used Honda 500X. And so I'm thinking get 2 of those. They will do highway speeds from what I understand. It's got the Ninja 300 motor in it, and they seem to be really good motors. So I'm thinking about getting 2 of those at some point for spares and for loaners and for a bunch of other stuff. I've got some buddies that would love to be able to ride. I've got my little Hawk 250 I gave to a friend of mine, or traded it to him. And it'll, you know, it's not really made for the road. We can ride around on back roads, but that's about as far as we can go with it. Where that 300 should give us a little bit more legs. You know, if we want to go an hour away, if we have to get on the highway a little bit, it will do it. Where that little 250 just, it struggles. It's actually a 230cc, and it's a single pump, single cylinder. Where that versus 300, for everything that he and I want to do, I think it would be absolutely perfect. And he struggles with the taller bikes as well. So if I were going to have one motorcycle, and that's all I was ever going to have, it would be this motorcycle. I am very happy with it. I love the thing. It's fantastic. But I want more. So my intention is this one, a Versus 300, as I find a good deal. At some point, a CB 500X and a KLR 650. So that's kind of the garage that I want to have. The Versus 300 will be my loaner bike and my kid learning bike, and I might duplicate those Versus 300s. So I might have multiples of those for my kids and for friends to ride with me and stuff like that. But the KLR, I want a Gen 2 that has a carburetor because they're simple. So that will be the one carbureted bike I've got. And then the CB 500X, the Versus 300, and the transalp are all fuel injected. But the KLR would be my sort of crap hits the fan. It will do everything you want it to do. They're pretty dead nuts reliable, but it can't touch this on the highway. So anyway, that's kind of my plan. If anybody has any input or on that, or thinks that I should do something different, please let me know. I'm curious. And if anybody has any input on the oil situation, any input about whether or not I should use the synthetic or not, or what people think about that I would be interested in that as well. But I'm telling you, love this bike. It's fantastic. Love this seat. It looks old manny, but it does the trick. I've also found, so I've been riding in the summer a lot. I mean, it was almost 100 degrees today, and these shirts are lifesavers. This is a moisture wicking shirt. You can see it's quite porous. I've also got, so let's see what I've been doing. Let me see if I can, so here's another moisture wicking shirt. This one, let's see if I can zoom in. Again, is very porous. So you can see the big holes. You can see how porous that shirt is. That one's moisture wicking. So I got that on Amazon. I got these on Amazon. And then I went to Walmart and I found these. This is a moisture wicking shirt, but it's not as porous. It looks like it is. It's also a tri-blend, I think is what it says. So it's 50% cotton, or 60% cotton, 40% polyester, where I'm 90% sure this and this are all polyester. And what I've found, I can put this shirt on. And you see I've got it in a Ziploc bag. I keep it in the back here. And I also keep this filled with water for drinking or to soak myself down with. And as I swap shirts, so if I take that shirt out and stick it on, I'm going to put this shirt in there, and I'm going to fill that bag with water to get it nice and soaking wet. But with these two shirts, when you're riding down the road, it can be 90 degrees, and if you're going 30 miles an hour, it's like having air conditioner. Your core stays cool. This shirt, nowhere near as good. Even though it says moisture wicking, this is not as good of a shirt. But here's what I found. because that's got cotton in it, it lasts longer. It stays wet longer than this one. These evaporate way faster than this one does. But where this feels like cold on your skin as you're riding, this holds heat in a little bit. It's not as good. And I used to wear just 100% cotton shirts. For what I do, welding and a lot of that stuff, that's all I'll wear. But for riding, I've switched to these shirts. And I wear a mesh jacket over top of this. So I soak this shirt down, and the long sleeve works better than the short sleeve as far as keeping you cool. But I've got both. This one has a pocket on it where those don't, and I'm having a hard time finding short sleeve shirts with a pocket, which is why I bought this one. See, it's got a pocket. But I can get these on Amazon cheaper than I can get those. And honestly, they're better shirts for the purpose that I've got. So if you are trying to stay cool in the winter, or the summer, sorry, these moisture wicking shirts are the absolute ticket. It is the way to go. I've also got a neck gaiter that I can put on, so it goes around your neck. And I'll also soak my gloves. And so those things, even with wearing that mesh jacket with the armor, so it's got padding on my elbow, padding on my shoulder, padding, where it needs to be on the back, it gives me the ability to ride on a hot summer day and stay pretty comfortable. Honestly, it's easier than riding in my truck on a hot summer day. So just something to consider if you're looking for riding in the summer. The trick that I found is just soaking a shirt down. That's all it takes, and it keeps you cool. The one thing I've not really found is pants. I've ordered 2 or 3 pair of pants. I've got some off of Facebook Marketplace. I've been trying to figure out the pants that I can wear. When I took a ride down the road, I lost a lot of skin here, and you can kind of tell, so you can see there's some of the scars there. So I got beat up here. Thankfully, my knees didn't take a beating. I just slid. But my winter pants are waterproof. They zip up all the way to here, and they have a knee pad here. I'd love to find the exact same setup in summer pants that are made out of just mesh. So it would allow airflow. It would zip all the way up to here, so I can quickly throw them on and take them off. And just wear my jeans under them, just as a second protective layer. But all the things that I found for summer, you have to replace your jeans. I don't like the way they look, and a lot of them, the knee pads might be down here, or they might be up here, or they're kind of all over the place. I'd love to get like mesh in your crotch area. This does help with that, by the way. You get airflow through here, and if you sit on this seat that's been sitting out in the sun, it is cooking. If you sit on this, it's warm at first, and then it goes away pretty quickly. So this actually sheds a lot of heat as well when you're sitting on it. But summer riding, the biggest thing I have not found yet is pants. Something for my legs. I want to protect my knees, and I have yet to find something that'll do that. Winter riding, I've got it. Those winter pants are beautiful. They're fantastic. I'll probably order me 2 or 3 more. They're like $100. But for what they are, they do a good job. But so far, other than my pants, I have figured out summer riding really well. I mean, it can be over 100 degrees and I can ride as long as I'm moving a little bit. And some of that is, if I'm coming up to a red light, I'm going to slow down if I see that it's red long before everybody else does, and sort of ride into a green light and then speed up. So I try to minimize sitting still as much as possible. My next thing that I want to try, I got one of those Camelback water things, and my intention is to run under my jacket, run tubing and sew it into the mesh jacket. So it'll kind of go around my chest, it'll go down my arms, and it'll hook to that little Camelback thing. And I'm either going to use like a little squeezy pump thing, or I'm going to use a 12 volt type deal. I think the squeezy pump would actually be the best, because it's literally, you just squeeze it. So you'd have a strap coming down your chest, you reach over on that strap and you just squeeze, and you could pump water out of that Camelback and it would soak your shirt. Real simple setup, because what I'm finding is these shirts work great, but about 30 to 45 minutes you're hot again and they're dry. So if you have a way of every once in a while just reach over, squeeze, and refresh the water soaking into your shirt, and you basically have a tube that's kind of running through your chest, and it's got holes where it sort of disperses into your shirt, and it's literally either a pump, so you'd either have a button where you just press the button and it and sprays it, sort of like a windshield wiper pump on your car. You know, you just hit a button and it sprays something like that onto your shirt. But I think that would really, if you have that function where you can just spray water out of like a 3-liter backpack, Camelback type backpack, that gives you a little bit of storage in the backpack. At least the one I got, I went to Walmart and picked one up, and it's got a 3-liter bag in it. So basically I tap into that bag, I can use it to drink, I could also use it to soak my shirt. So it would kind of be a dual purpose thing. Mostly for longer trips. You know, if I'm just going to work, I generally don't even bother to soak my shirt. But if I know I'm going to go see my dad and it's a 4-hour trip, I think having the ability to soak my shirt on the fly, instead of stopping every 30, 45 minutes, I could stop an hour and a half to 2 hours. And it would, I just think it'd be nicer to be able to do that. And you can't always stop when your shirt dries. You know, you might be somewhere where it's going to be harder to stop or whatever. So if I can extend that just by adding water to my shirt that I'm wearing, my base layer, then all the more reason to do it. So what I'm thinking is, if I have it set up to where I have either 2 buttons, one on top, one on bottom. The top one would soak your shirt. The bottom one would soak your gloves. So it would, you know, throw water into, say, the palm of your hands or up here, somewhere where the water will disperse into your gloves. Between your gloves and this shirt and a neck gaiter, the neck gaiter seems to last longer, by the way. So if you're doing nothing but, a neck gaiter actually works pretty well to keep you cool, and it seems to last for a long time. So that would be a good option if it's your only option. But the shirt and all that stuff work pretty seamlessly. So I might do a video on, you know, just lay out my different gear sets that I use for summer and winter. But either way, I know I ramble a lot, but if anybody has any questions or suggestions, I'm new to motorcycling and a lot of this stuff, so if you're a long time rider, hit me up. One of the things that I'm going to try to do is find a way to do I've got that kit in the back of my car that's like a emergency comms ham radio. It's got a G90 radio in it with a bunch of other stuff. I think I'm going to try to figure out a way to add to that for this, but go smaller. So instead of a G90, I might go with one of those smaller, like X6200, I think, or the 5105. See, I've got the 2-meter radio in here, and it's got the BNC plug, and I've got an antenna in here that fits it as well. But I've got that, and that's also a USB-C chargeable battery, so I can use this to charge it. There's also a USB-C charger, or a USB plug under the seat here, and what I'm thinking about doing is coming out of this somehow into the box, and I might not use the USB-C that it's got. I might add another one of these units in there, have it on a relay, so when you start and run the bike, the relay kicks it on and powers 12 volts, and have an ingress somewhere of wire that goes into this box. What it might be is just a simple plug that plugs in with a little plug that comes in here that you can plug into it. And inside the box, you would have probably up high somewhere one of those USB-C plugs. And what that would allow me to do is charge stuff like this. So that's USB-C chargeable. Or, that's my loaner helmet until I find a better one. Or this. So I had a little small air compressor. I ended up giving that to a friend of mine. But this one is actually, let's see, turn on, I charged it, there it goes. So this one is a flashlight, maybe, let's try it again. There it goes. So you got a flashlight that'll do different things. You have a power bank, it charges with USB-C, and all the accessories are in this bag here. So you can see the jump starter thing. It's got a jump starter. And so you've got a lot of devices in one. It is kind of large. It's a little bit bigger than I really wanted. I'm going to see if I can find a smaller one. But my thinking is if I have one of those USB ports in here, I could keep this on a trickle charge. So as soon as I'm firing the motorcycle up, it is charging this. If I kill my battery, this would be charged and ready to go every time I need to use it. I could also charge stuff like my radio here. So, you know, in the box, in a waterproof environment, I could have this stuff getting charged while I'm riding down the road. If I'm camping or if I need to stop somewhere, that little jump box it could be a jump starter for this. It could also be a power bank for my cell phone, a bunch of other stuff. But what I'll probably do is carry the 12-volt batteries for the, what do we call that thing? For the radio. Like these. So use these to actually power it. These are 12 volt, and all you got to do is just connect here and here, and you can use those to actually power a G90 pretty well, and they last a pretty long time. So I'm thinking, you know, yeah, you're not gonna stay on them forever. You're not gonna have hours long conversations, but in an emergency type scenario, a 4 amp hour battery will give you an hour of talking on one of those G90s. If I do an X5105 or a 6200 or a 6100, the amperage or the wattage output on them is nowhere near as good as the G90, but it's pretty good. And if I can find maybe a 50 watt amp to go with them that's very, very small, and power it with one of those same 12 volt batteries, because these 12 volt batteries are pretty, oh, where'd they go? Those 12 volt batteries are pretty small, fairly lightweight, and I've got a boatload of them. I buy them for my tools. So this is a 2 amp hour, but I've got 4 amp hours in the house. So either way, that's one thing I'm looking at. I just don't want to buy another radio. I've got like $5,000 in radios, and they're the bigger base station radios, but I want some of the Zygu smaller ones. So I'm thinking, you know, the X6100 that's got a battery built into it, or the 6200 might be the radio I get for this. And I combine that with, I've got a little antenna that reels out. So between that radio, and I might add, that's a pretty cheap UV5R. I've got a boatload of them, but I don't know why, I just really like those radios. What I might try to find is, they make them where they have a Bluetooth button, and the radios are Bluetooth, and they Bluetooth to your helmet. So you have your push to talk here. Your helmet actually pairs with the Bluetooth on the radio. If you have 2 of those, then my helmet comms only go so far, and outside of that range you fall back on your cell phone. So you use your cell phone to dial, but then if you're out of cell phone range, you're kind of screwed. Where the 2-meter radio with a good antenna, you know, I could even mount an antenna here, or have some type of a mount that I could stick it on here, have a really decent antenna. This is aluminum, so you could actually put it in the middle if you wanted to. But I could have a decent 2-meter antenna mounted here with one of those radios that are Bluetooth to my helmet, and as I'm riding down the road I could use it, or I could use it without the Bluetooth. So it would give me a little bit more options, and those radios use USB-C as well to charge them. So if I got 2 of those and 2 of the little doohickeys that go here, I could use those, you know, when I'm riding with a buddy, and it would work great, or I could use them as an emergency radio. So it kind of give me different levels of communication there. And then if I got one of those 6200s, even better, you know. So either way, I'm going to quit rambling. If anybody's got any input, let me know. You guys have a great day. Bye.